All right, the recording is active, and welcome this afternoon to our session on adding synchronous interaction to your courses via Zoom. Uh, Zoom is probably and I'm Dave Giberson, for those of you I might not have met before. I'm an old instructional design coordinator from Online Learning Pathways at the district. Excuse me. I worked there for many years. I've since retired and moved to Northern Idaho. By the way, welcome to spring in Northern Idaho. That's what it looks like out my back window today. We woke up with this morning. And I'm just coming back to help out here. And one of the things I love above all else is Zoom. So let's talk about Zoom. Let's take a look at what we're going to try to cover today. I'm going to share my screen, which is Zoom's superpower. The one thing that makes it a virtual classroom instead of just a video chat tool. Its ability to share the host's or other attendees' screens so that you can see what I'm seeing on my computer screen just as easily as I can. I'm going to go ahead and share that. There's my computer desktop, which is the default thing to share. Now I'm going to bring my seminar outline over and we'll take a quick look at that. Introduce myself, check. Gone over basics of Zoom, pretty much check. Chat roster. If you wouldn't mind at this point, or if you haven't already done it, putting your name and your email address in the chat log. That would be helpful for me when I go back to try to figure out how many folks I've had today. The data people like to hear that. Also, it'll give me a chance to get back in touch with you if there's something that comes up today that I can't deal with during this session. And I'll give you a minute to do that if you haven't already done so. Great. Thank you so much. So, chat roster, check. The only way I can remember what I'm supposed to say these days is to write it down and follow it. So, why bother? What is it that Zoom's going to do for us that makes it worth dealing with, at least in our educational endeavors? Well, even if you're teaching a fully online class, which is primarily asynchronous, that is, you post material for the students view it on their own time, you post assignments, quizzes, they take them on their own time, and nobody has to be online at the same time. Asynchronous online education is what we've been mostly into for the last 10, 15 years in distance education. So why do you need something like Zoom if you're teaching in an environment like that? Well, because that's a very psychologically isolating environment for students, especially, and for us as well. And Zoom can be a great engagement tool that will allow you to connect personally with your students, to build a rapport with them just as you can in the physical classroom. Even if you don't run your class primarily synchronously in real time, it can be a valuable adjunct to something like Canvas. Also, you can do office hours on Zoom, and no one has to travel, and you can do it very effectively. Help sessions for tests. And if you need to, in a situation like we're in right now, you can do full-up lectures on Zoom. And you can do them about as well as you can in a physical classroom. There's really very little that you can do in a physical classroom, absent laboratory or practical type exercises where the students have to perform something in front of you. You can do, for most lecture classes, you can do it just as well on Zoom as you can do it in the classroom. And we're going to see that today, hopefully, and get an idea of the tools and techniques that will help with that. Let's see, someone asked, I've not had the basics of Canvas yet. Would this meeting be okay for me? Absolutely. We're primarily going to be talking about Zoom today. Not so much. I will bring up Canvas from time to time, but it's not something that's going to interfere with your understanding of how to use Zoom. So let's get to talking about Zoom itself and how to use it, how to start Zoom meetings, how to get your students into them with you, how to run the meeting, how to record it, and other little details as we go along. The first thing you've got to be able to do, I'm going to go ahead and pull this outline out of the way. I'm going to cheat. I have it over here on another monitor so I don't forget to tell you something. And again, if you have a question, just chime in. You can unmute yourself by pressing down on the space bar on your keyboard and just talk. First thing you've got to do to be able to use Zoom is you have to have an account with Zoom. Let me emphasize right off the bat, though, that your students don't have to have Zoom accounts in order to attend your meetings. They do not need to sign up for anything. If they're using computers, they don't even have to load any software on their computers to attend your meeting. Zoom will do that for them automatically. If they are attending using a smartphone or a tablet, which is not only very effective, but very likely, for many students don't even have laptops or computers anymore. They rely on mobile devices, and they can certainly use those to attend your Zoom meetings very effectively. But in that event, they do have to load a free Zoom app, which they can get from their app stores, either Google Play for Android or the Apple App Store for iPhone. They do have to load those apps in advance. Not so on the computer, but true on the mobile device. But the first thing you've got to have then is a Zoom account. Fortunately, thanks to good planning on the part of the State Chancellor's Office and years of advocacy from people all over the California community colleges, you can now, as a faculty or staff member at a California community college, you can get a free Zoom professional account paid for by the State Chancellor's Office through this website, conferzoom.org. There it is, conferzoom.org, conferzoom.org. Let me put that in the chat tool for you.
Question.
Yes.
Conferzoom.us.
This is where you get your account.
Oh.
Your free account. You can go to zoom.us, which is the Zoom website, as we'll see in a minute, and you can sign up there. But there you're either going to get a free account, which has a limit of 40 minutes per meeting, or you're going to have to pay $15 a month.
Okay. Thanks.
Which is about what you'd pay for HBO, so it's not the end of the world, but why pay for it if you don't have to?
No, I have Confer Zoom.
Oh, good. You have Confer Zoom. That's great. That's great.
Yeah. Thank you.
Conferzoom.org is the CCC Confer Zoom website funded through the State Chancellor's Office, where you can go and sign up for a Confer Zoom account if you haven't already done so. Just click this button here labeled Sign Up, and you'll have to fill in your name, your email address. You have to use your district EDU email address, or they won't give you an account. Your organization is just your college, classification is who you are, administrator, staff, or faculty, your title, assistant professor, whatever, and a cell phone number. I see the student accounts will be denied. Well, students don't need an account to do this. Okay, they're making that clear now, though. So you just fill that out and click sign up. They'll get back to you. You'll get an automatic email back that says, right now, I think that it'll take them up to 72 hours to get you set up. Some people have gotten set up in just minutes. Others have had to wait even longer than 72 hours. But they will get back to you. They will get you a Zoom account, and you'll be able to use it. You can also get a Zoom account, a free Zoom account, through zoom.us, the Zoom website. And this is the Zoom website for all Zoom accounts. If you have your Confer account that you've gotten from Confer Zoom, you can also go to zoom.us and manage your Zoom account from there. You don't have to go back to Confer Zoom or anything to do that. Get this out of the way. There's a, if I log myself out here, I'm in there already, so let me log out. If you go to the site, right, without being logged in, there's a button that says sign up, it's free. You can do that immediately. If you need, like, if you have a class scheduled with your students Monday and you haven't heard from Confer Zoom yet, which is unlikely, but in the event, you can sign up for a free Zoom account. Just use your district email address when you sign up with Zoom. And when Confer Zoom creates your Zoom Pro account, the free account that you created will automatically be transitioned to a Pro account, and you'll be fine. But in the meantime, you can use the free account, which in the 40-minute limit on meetings in the free account is not that much of a problem. You can always just start another meeting right away if you have to. And besides which, your students probably be thrilled. My students would be thrilled if I could, if I were limited to 40 minutes at a time. So you can get a free account if you need one right away. Otherwise, I would urge you to wait for Confer Zoom. Yes.
Dave, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, this is Lori Harold. I just heard from Claudia Tarnsoffer that because of the duration of the whole virus situation, that 40-minute restriction has been lifted. They're not going to do that for a while.
Yeah, they go in and out on that. We've heard that before. We've heard that before. So I would, it's still worth getting a Confer Zoom account, even if they lift that limitation, because there are other things you can do with a paid account that you can't do with a free account. Mm-hmm. Not very many, really, and not that important, but some. It's still worth having a Confer Zoom account, and I hope they really go through with that right now. But they're also trying to protect their infrastructure and prevent it from being overwhelmed, which I'm a little surprised it hasn't been already. So I don't know if they'll be able to keep to that or not. So it's definitely worth having your Confer Zoom account, even if you have to wait for it a little bit. So that's how you get your own Zoom account. Wow, such a deal. No limit on the number of meetings.
I have a question about how to view this at a different time, because I'm at work right now.
Oh, how to view this session later? And you may be, yeah, you may not be able to stay for very long. I'll answer that right now. I understand the situation.
Thank you very much.
We post these meetings, the recordings of these meetings, to sdccdolvid.org. Right here. And let me, again, sdccdolvid.org is the...
Yes, thank you.
All right, you got that? Good.
Got it.
All right. And they'll be under Workshop Archives. in the menu at the top of the screen.
Workshop archives.
Workshop archives. Like here's the online Q&A from last Sunday. I have the grading in Canvas from yesterday up on YouTube, but I haven't added it here yet. I'll get that this afternoon, and this one will be up there
Okay.
probably this evening.
Wonderful.
And
thank you so much.
there's one of everything, at least one of everything, and multiples of most. So you can watch them at any time. Good question.
Thank you.
All right. So we've got our Zoom account. Now the next question is, how do we start a Zoom meeting? Well, there's a lot of ways to do that. Maybe an embarrassment of options here. But there is an issue that can happen with Zoom if you're using it, especially early on, and you're not real familiar with it. It is quite possible for you to end up in one Zoom meeting and your students to end up in a different one. And I've had that happen to me early on. It's the only way I've ever seen Zoom completely fail to achieve its purpose. And that was in large part my fault for not paying attention, but it's a little bit too easy for that to happen. So I'm going to show you one way to do this that will eliminate that possibility. I'll just show you how to do that. It's not the only way you can start a Zoom meeting, but it is a safe one. In order to do this, I'm going to need to sign in to my Zoom account at zoom.us, at the Zoom main website. And this account I'm using right now is a Confer Zoom account. So this will work for those accounts that Confer Zoom gives you as well as anything. So just bring up a web browser and type Zoom, Z-O-O-M, .us. That's it. No .com, .edu, or anything like that. Just zoom.us. And press enter. And you'll come to this website. There's a sign in button in the, let me make that a little easier for people with mobile devices. There's a sign in button in the upper right hand corner of the website, just to the left of the button that says sign in, it's free, or sign up, it's free. You then enter the email address that you gave to Confer, assuming this is a Confer Zoom account, enter the email address that you gave Confer Zoom, or the one that you gave Zoom. Should be your district email address in any case. This is not, I can't use my district email address because of some history. That I used to be a Zoom administrator for our online learning pathways, and my district email account is still tied up with those accounts. So I have to use a different one. The CCC Confer knew who I was and gave me one with my personal email account. So that's why mine's not my district account. So, but you sign in with the email address and the password that you were either given or created when the account was set up, and then just click sign in. And you go to your Zoom account management screens at zoom.us. And by default, you'll be dropped into the meetings tab. Over here on the left, you see profile, meetings, webinars, and so on. You'll be dropped into the meetings tab. And if you look across the top of the screen here, there's an entry for something called your personal meeting room. This is something you get with any Zoom account, free one, Confer Zoom account, one that you pay for, anything. You'll always have a personal meeting room. This is a meeting room that is unique to you. No one else can use it unless you give them access. And its access information never changes. By access information, I mean the meeting ID that uniquely identifies it on Zoom, which is a 10-digit number. and the so-called join URL, the link that you can send to people to allow them to access your personal meeting room. This never changes unless you sign up for a different Zoom account, which there'd be no need to do. So your personal, I like to hold all of my meetings in my personal meeting room because there's never a possibility of students then ending up in the wrong place. You can start a meeting by going to the Zoom website and clicking this host a meeting button up here. But if you do that, that's called an instant meeting in Zoom parlance. And unless you tell Zoom otherwise, it will generate a meeting ID randomly for that meeting. And you won't know what that will be in advance. So your students, there's no way to warn your students in advance where to be. You can schedule meetings. I go back to the meetings tab per se, there's a button to schedule a new meeting. But again, unless you warn Zoom, Zoom is going to generate a random meeting ID. So I like to go to, when I'm starting a meeting, I like to go to my personal meeting room here on Zoom, the Zoom website. And in the upper right-hand corner of that window, there will be a blue button that looks a lot like this one, except the blue button, if you're not in a meeting, will say Start Meeting instead of Join Now. It knows I'm in a meeting, so it's not giving me the option to start another one. Can't start 2 Zoom meetings at the same time in the same account. So if you just click Start Meeting on that button, then your Zoom meeting will start, and you'll go through the same join process that you did to get into my meeting here, where it asks you if it's okay to open the Zoom meetings client. You say okay, then it asks you how you want to handle your sound, which will usually be computer audio, though you do have the option to handle your sound by a dial-in bridge, though I have heard that there's some possibility that Zoom may be doing away with that option because it apparently puts a real strain on their systems to support that. So I don't know how long that will be available. Also, the numbers that they give you to dial into are not toll-free numbers. So if you happen to not have a unlimited long distance on your account, those numbers that they give you are scattered all over the countryside. There's one in California, at least one in California, but there are others just scattered all over the country, including one in New York City. So you could incur long distance charges doing your audio that way. So vast majority of the time, you're going to want to use your computer audio, which is the microphone and speakers attached to your computer. Something that it really helps to have with Zoom, especially if you're the host. We'll talk more about that in a moment. Anyway, so here I am at my personal meeting room, and I can start a meeting from right here. And I know then in advance what the access information is for this meeting. I know the meeting ID, and I know the join URL. And I can provide those to my students in advance. So to get my students into the meeting with me, all the normal practice is to do it exactly the way that you were informed about this meeting. You were sent an email by Mary Kingsley with my Zoom join URL in it. This one right here. I've customized mine, but that doesn't matter. It would work either way. You click on that and you go right into my Zoom meeting. Your students can do the same thing. So you can provide that Zoom URL, join URL to your students in any one of a variety of ways. You can email them through the roster tool in the portal, the PeopleSoft portal, and put that link in the email. So they can just click on it and go right into your meeting whenever you're holding it. You can email your students through Canvas. Let's pull up Canvas here. You can email your students through the inbox tool in Canvas. Just click Compose a New Message, select the course. You do have to do this course by course. Select the course you want to email. Though there's no reason you can't have all of your students from all of your courses in a Zoom meeting at one time if it's appropriate, because your meeting with your Confer Zoom accounts, you can have up to 300 attendees at one time. Heaven forbid class sizes ever get that big. Surely the union will step in long before that happens, please. Then choose, using this little icon right here on the to line, you choose to whom to send this message, usually students, either all students or individual students. Then just type a subject and a message. You can attach a file, and you can send the message. You just put that Zoom URL right here in the message. You get that.
Hi, I have a question.
Yeah, just 1 second. I'll be right with you. Copy that to the clipboard. Put that in your email, and just send it off. And the students will be able to click on it. Yes, question.
Yes, I was making some videos for my students in landing gear. I didn't know if there was a way for me to send a short video through Canvas.
If it's really short, less than about 10, or I'm not sure what the attachment size limit is in Canvas, come to think of it. If it's less than 10 megabytes in size, should be no problem. Though there are better ways to share videos with your students, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that when we talk about sharing your Zoom recordings with your students.
Zoom recordings. Okay, thank you.
You bet. So you can send them a message with, I'm sorry?
Another question before we go on, please.
Okay.
If I want to practice what I'm going to put a lecture in Canvas, I can just not invite anybody to that meeting, so I can just stay in the personal lecture room and just...
That is correct.
Okay.
You can start a Zoom meeting and have no one else in it, and record it, and save the recording, put it on YouTube or send it to the Zoom cloud, and your students can view it later on demand. It's one of the best ways I know to make instructional videos.
Okay, great.
And the easiest. Great question.
Dave,
So, yes.
when you're doing the, because I found this on our PeopleSoft, you can, when you're in PeopleSoft and highlighting the emails to put, and then it has a place where you can click to make an email. And I noticed on here, in regular emails, if you go up to options, it says you can do a BCC, because we're told to put all our addresses in BCC. Where is that on this email?
Right here, where it says send an individual message to each recipient. If you click that, you in effect get a BCC.
Great, thank you.
You bet. Good question. All righty. So that's another way. You can also, of course, put links to your Zoom meetings in Canvas. You can put your Zoom meeting link in Canvas in a number of ways. Let me just go into this sandbox course here. I can mess up any way I like. like this link right here in a getting started module in the Canvas course has my my personal meeting join URL in it. I created that just by going to the plus sign to add items to the module and selected external URL. This is an external resource outside of Canvas. I put my personal meeting URL here. Go back and get that on my clipboard again. I just paste that right there. And then I give it a name like Dave's Zoom Room. I don't know, it sounds like a massage parlor. Maybe I could be a little better about that. But okay, so there's, for a good time, go to Dave's Zoom Room. All right, so the student comes and clicks on that link and bing, they go into Zoom, just the same way you just did. That's an option. You can also put a link to your Zoom room in your course menu in Canvas. You do that, and I've gone through this a million times. There's a tutorial on this site here that shows how to do that as well. But, whoops, sorry. Don't know anybody in Detroit. I got a feeling that was a spam call. Sorry, I meant to turn that off. There we go. You can add a link to your personal Zoom room to your course menu in Zoom. You do that by going to the Settings tab and adding and going to Apps. And click on Installed to avoid having Canvas present you with every possible external app ever made for Canvas. We just want the ones that are installed on our system. And the one you're looking for is the swooshy blue arrow there, the right swoosh. It's called the redirect tool. If you click on that and click Add App, rename the redirect tool something like Dave's Zoom Room. Okay. Put your personal meeting room join link in there. Definitely want to force it to open in a new tab. That's the default. You also probably want to show it in course navigation, otherwise the students won't see it, and in account navigation, and click Add App. If you then refresh your screen, you notice it didn't show up here, but if I refresh the screen, reload the web browser, there it is, Dave's Zoom Room down there. And your students, when it's time, can click on Dave's Zoom Room and go right in, just like we saw a minute ago, he said. They're asked to open it in a new tab, which is a good thing, and then bang, they go into Zoom, just like you did when you entered my meeting today. And we almost never have people unable to enter a Zoom meeting. When we used to use a tool called Blackboard Collaborate for this sort of thing, we could count on 2 or 3 students in every meeting not being able to join because it was so complicated. There were so many ways to fail. Here, that rarely happens with Zoom. Students tend to have very little trouble getting into your Zoom meetings as long as you give them the information they need to do so. Of course, the students need to know when to come to your Zoom meeting. So you can create an announcement in your course, something like this: Zoom meeting tomorrow. And let's see, no, I can't edit that, but I can go and create, there we go. Here I've put an announcement out that gives the time and the date. But I've also linked my personal meeting join URL to this text here. I just highlighted that text. See, I got to go into edit to do that. Sorry. I know that. I've highlighted that and I've clicked on the link to URL button in the rich content editor in Canvas. And then I just put my Zoom join URL in that box and insert it. And now that becomes an active link to my Zoom meeting. So the student sees the announcement, pulls it up, they can just click on it and go right in. Or you can just do something simple like post a schedule. Yeah, I don't want to save that. Okay. You can just make a Zoom class schedule by creating a page in Canvas and adding meetings. Today's meeting was April 2nd at 2 p.m. And once again, I can put that, if you want to, you get fancy, you can put that meeting URL, your join URL, right in that, and the student just clicks on the date, and they go. So it's very easy to give the students the information they need to join your personal meeting room, to join you in your personal meeting room. Or any variation on that that you come up with that works better for you is great. So that's how to get your students in there with you. Since we're in Canvas here for a moment, let me address something else. And that's this Confer Zoom app down here. That you'll find in it's available in the course menu in any shell in Canvas. And it gives you an external interface to your Zoom account. That's an alternative to just going to zoom.us and managing things from there. So it has the advantage that you don't have to leave Canvas to do this. But we've had lots of issues with that. It's kind of glitchy, we've found. The main glitch being that when you set up your Confer Zoom account and your Canvas account, and then try to mate it with your Canvas account, the email addresses on both have to be the same. That is, your email address associated with your Canvas account has to be the same as the email address associated with your Confer Zoom account in order for them to talk to one another, the Canvas and this Confer Zoom app to talk to one another. And a lot of people don't like to use their district email account, which is what you have to use with Confer Zoom. A lot of people don't like to use that account in Canvas because Canvas can generate a lot of traffic in your email inbox. You have limited space in your district account, and messages from students in Canvas or notifications from Canvas itself can get lost among all the district messages. So a lot of people like to make a separate personal free email account to use with Canvas. But if you do that, you can't use this Confer Zoom app. It won't sync up. So mainly for that reason, and for some other minor incompatibility issues we run into, I don't usually teach that app. It does, if your email addresses align, it will work well enough, but it doesn't give you any capability that you don't have by going straight to Zoom itself. And I just don't like to teach it because I don't like to encourage people to use something that I'm not certain will work for them. But if you use it and it works fine for you, that's great. It's fine. But that's not something I'm going to cover here today necessarily. I'll answer questions about it, but I'm not that enamored of it, quite frankly.
Dave, I have a question about it. Can I ask it now?
Please, please, perfect timing.
So I was just having problems with Confer Zoom because apparently my old email, my Gmail, somehow made its way into Canvas. I have no idea how. I never used it in Canvas. And it's now
I got
used
you.
as an identity email, and I cannot connect with Zoom, which really has the district email. So I
Right.
spent several hours today trying to resolve this.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. You can change the email address that's associated with your Canvas account at any time. If you go to the, you can. You see the account link here in Canvas? Click on that and go to Settings for your account settings in Canvas. And here is where your email address will be listed, the email address that's associated with your Canvas account. You can have multiples. I have multiples. But if you're going to use Confer Zoom, your district account at least has to be the primary, which is what this star means.
I did that, but when I go to
Still not working?
Right, when I go to the Confer Zoom tab and then to the settings, it's still showing the Gmail account as the identity account. It's just stuck
in Confer Zoom. Oh boy.
I mean,
do you see a button? Do you see a button that says resynchronize your account?
I do, and I tried, but then I'm taken to the 7-digit number, so I cannot enter.
Right. I could delete that account for you since I don't think you need it anymore.
Right. I
don't know if that would fix it or not. Do me a favor, send me an email.
Okay.
With your 7-digit old 7-digit CSID, and I'll go in and I'll delete that account from Canvas for you.
Okay.
And we'll see if that will fix the problem. But the sorts of things you're describing here are among the glitches I'm talking about. Okay. Which is why there are too many ways to fail. I don't like easy ways to fail in a technical solution because people will find them and they will happen, and there will be, like you say, you've wasted several hours already.
Okay.
That's why I really recommend just working around that and not using it at all.
Okay.
And I'm going to show you how to do everything you need to do in the Zoom the Zoom website. But I'll delete that and we'll give it a shot and see if it works.
Okay, great. Thanks.
You bet. But you just made a point for me. Thank you. Nothing I could have said would have explained why I'm a little reluctant to recommend using that Confer Zoom app as well as that. So thank you. Let's see. So, anything else there? Yes, something quickly. Especially if you do use the Confer Zoom account, there is a way to absolutely ensure that no matter how you start a Zoom meeting or where you start it from, that you will be using your personal meeting room. And you can do that by going to the zoom.us website and logging in as you to get to your account management screens. And you can go to your Zoom settings in this menu here on the left. And fortunately, these are fairly high up in the list. It's a long list, but the ones you want are right just down from the top. And the two that you can turn on are use personal meeting ID when scheduling a meeting and use personal meeting ID when starting an instant meeting. If you turn those two on just by clicking these icons here, and blue is on, then no matter how you start a meeting, whether you schedule it through the Confer Zoom app or the scheduler here in Zoom at the Zoom website, or you click on host a meeting at the Zoom website, or whatever, if those two settings are turned on, these two right here, your meetings are always going to take place in your personal meeting room, no matter how they're created. So the chances of you and your students ending up in the wrong place are near zero. So the first thing I did when I figured that out was turn these on, and I've left them on forever. And I haven't had that problem in a long time. So that will save you. All meetings will then take place in your personal meeting room. Another interesting thing this allows you to do is to also select join before host, which is how I have my account set. And those of you who got here this afternoon before I did, got into this meeting before I did, saw how that works. By the time I came into the meeting, there were half a dozen people in there already, and they were talking away and sharing information with one another. It was great. Just like, getting to a classroom early, a bunch of students getting to a classroom early and standing around talking to one another. It's a wonderful social thing. And that is possible because I selected join before host. And that's something you just have to decide if you're comfortable with. But what it means is that if you put that link in Canvas, your students can use your Zoom account when you're not there for things like homework session or study session, or just to talk to one another because everybody's cooped up at home. They could make their own Zoom account, a free account, and use it that way, but it's probably a lot less complicated for them to just use yours for that. And if you're not using it at the time, it doesn't cost the state anything for the extra usage. We pay for access, not for usage. So it gives your students a value-added use of your Zoom account, or your Zoom personal meeting room. If you get there and you need to use it for something else, you can politely ask them to leave. And if they don't, you can throw them out. But hopefully that would never be necessary. But it's a nice extra perk. To get that to work, unfortunately, this is a little glitchy in Zoom. You'd not only have to turn this option on, but you also have to go to your meetings tab and you have to schedule a new meeting. And it's not necessarily one you're ever going to use. It's just a dummy meeting. You can call it take the default and call it my meeting. Just take whatever default dates there are and so on. Just scroll down, you don't need to change anything except to make sure that enable join before host is checked. And then just save the meeting. If you go back to my meetings, you'll see that meeting there. I can just, I don't want to end that meeting because it probably thinks this is that meeting. So I'm probably cut us off if I do that. So I'm not going to do that. But later on, you can come back and just delete this meeting so that it doesn't even show up. But for some reason, that convinces Zoom that you really mean business. If you schedule one meeting with the option to join before host selected, then Zoom will obey that setting change for the rest of time, as near as I can tell. You shouldn't have to do something like that, but it does seem to make it work. And I've got all this in tutorials on this website as well. So now we know how to get our students in with us. The next thing we need to talk about is how to operate Zoom as the host in a Zoom meeting. And that, unfortunately, is not something I can show you live because Zoom does not share my Zoom menus with you when I'm moderating the session. So what I've had to do is to record myself going through the use of the Zoom, various items in the Zoom menu in another tool, and I'm going to have to show you this as a movie. Like my old coach, I'm going to show a movie in class. That's the only way I can show you this. It's about 20 minutes long, and I'm going to show it to you now. It's a useful demonstration that you can show videos to your students in a lecture in Zoom quite well. I do have to pull up that that movie just a second. Let's see, that is using the Zoom control menus. There it is. Pull it up here. Hi there, and welcome. This is stored on YouTube. So I'm gonna bring that over here. YouTube is a wonderful thing. I don't know what we do without it at this point in time. It's the best place to store and serve video from, bar none. I'm going to full screen this so you can see it a little better. And no matter how they, whenever they, you grab a frame in a video, it always ends up with your mouth open. Sorry about that. So let me play. Hi there, and welcome to a quick trip through the Zoom tool. Okay, let me be assured that you're seeing that okay, and that you're hearing it okay. Looking at the chat tool. Don't see any cries for help there, so I'm going to go ahead and play, and I'll be back to you when this is over. Live, more or less. Tools and menus that you'll see when you're in a Zoom meeting as the host. Some of these menus and tools are also available to participants, but we're specifically going to look at the host view here today. We have to pre-record this because you can't do this while you're in Zoom. I can't share this with you while you're in Zoom. And we'll start with the general view. You'll probably come up by default in speaker view, which shows whoever is talking in full screen. Actually, I've messed with this a little bit because I have pinned myself so you can see me in this. If I unpin the video, what you will see is actually your attendee who last spoke or who is currently speaking. But I'm going to go ahead and pin myself back there. That's something you can do for recording purposes. The other option for viewing the meeting is gallery view. The button will be in the upper right-hand corner here, and it's a toggle back and forth. If I click that, I go to gallery view, which is something like the old Hollywood Squares view, where you see everyone who has a webcam running. I have 3 devices in the meeting right now. This is my hosting computer. This is my smartphone, and this is a laptop in another room. So you get a much better feel for who else is in the system, and you can watch them and take visual cues from them and so on. But either one will work. The Zoom menu will normally be at the bottom of the screen. It might show up on one side or the other if settings have been changed, but 99% of the time it'll be at the bottom. If you don't see a menu at the bottom of the screen, mouse over the video window and it should pop up. We'll start from left to right here. The first icon in the lower left is the microphone or the sound icon. This, the thing you'll do most often here is mute yourself. You can do that by just clicking on it. And then clicking again. When you're muted, there'll be a red slash through it. You can mute or not as you wish in a meeting. It's probably a good idea to stay muted at least most of the time if you're not presenting in the meeting. Though if there's not a lot of sound in your vicinity, it's not really that critical. Next to the, and the sound icon will also show you that you're transmitting. The microphone icon will. If you see the little green bar rising up in the microphone, you know you're transmitting. There's also a menu associated with this icon right next to it, this little up caret. If we click that, we can select, if we have more than one microphone, we can select the microphone we want to use. And if you have more than one output device, more than one set of speakers attached to your computer, you can select the ones you wish. You can also test your speakers and microphone, which is a very good thing to do before the meeting starts. Yes, I hear a ringtone. Yes, I hear a ringtone. Yep, I did hear that reply, and you're finished. So it'll tell you if your sound devices are working. You can switch to phone audio. There are two options for audio in Zoom. One is computer audio, voice over IP through Zoom itself. The other is to use your phone, either your smartphone or a desk phone, to both speak and hear the audio. The vast majority of the time you'll want to use the computer audio, unless you don't have speakers attached to your computer. You can also change audio settings at any time. The next icon, a little stylized camera, is your video control icon. This allows you to control whether other people can see you if you have a webcam. You can turn off your video by clicking on the webcam, and you'll go to the little red slash will appear, and you'll no longer appear to your attendees. And just clicking it again will bring you back. Speaking as someone who does a lot of Zoom meetings, it's always nice when you leave your video on, because as a presenter, I can see what you're thinking sometimes, and see if I'm losing you, things like that. It's much better if you leave it on in general terms. There's also a video settings menu next to the little camera. You can, if you have more than one camera attached to your computer, you can select which one you want to use. Indeed, I've used up to 4 cameras attached to a single computer in a Zoom meeting before, where each one was looking at something different. And you have that option. You can only use one camera at a time, but you can quickly switch between them using this menu here. You also have a video settings menu, which you can use in a variety of ways. I'm not going to go into great detail there, but you can set your screen aspect ratio. You can set your whether to use high definition if your webcam is capable of it. You can mirror so that things are not turned left to right and so on. Most of the rest of these you just leave on as is. You can also, in the video menu, go to the virtual background, which I have behind me right now. What I have behind me is actually a wall, a green wall, actually. But I can put any of these virtual backgrounds behind myself, and you can upload your own pictures, which is what I have. Here is a picture out my back window. You can do this. It works a little better with a green screen, but you don't have to have a green screen. If you have a reasonably consistent background behind you with not a lot of, not real cluttered, it may work anyway. It's always worth a try if you want to try that. So that's how you set a virtual background, or you can go directly to that in that setting in this menu here as well by just hitting choose a virtual background, pick the photo that you want to use, and see what happens. Here's your invite button. This allows you, if you have a running meeting, to invite people to it. You can go directly to your Yahoo Mail if you have that up. And it will give you a message that you can send to whomever you wish that has all the information necessary to access the meeting. So that's a useful thing sometimes. Let's see. That's probably the easiest. Another thing you can do is copy your Zoom URL to your clipboard and just paste that into an email and send it right away. But you've usually taken care of this before you start the meeting. You, as the host, can manage your participants in certain ways. First off, you can see who's in here with you very quickly, how many people there are, and get some information about who they are, depending on how they've logged in. You can mute or unmute them at will, he said. What that does is send a message to them asking them to unmute themselves, actually. You can also chat with them directly. You can stop their video. You can make them a host so that they can do things that normally only you can do. Or you can make them the host and cut yourself off, or make them a co-host and they can do some of the things you can do that normally they wouldn't be able to. You can allow them to record, which people will occasionally record by themselves. So they get their own recording of this. If they happen to be a real-time captioner in your meeting, in order to provide that service, you can assign that to them. You can rename them, or you can kick them out of the meeting in an extreme circumstance. We won't be doing that today. Also, here are buttons where you can do things like, you can mute everyone at one time if you need to. You can unmute everyone. And you can set certain default behaviors. This is where you can also answer questions or surveys, yes, no. They can ask for go slower, go faster. They can like, dislike, and so on. But mainly what you're doing here as the host is looking to see who's in the meeting with you and muting and unmuting them at need more often than not. Alrighty, I'm not going to do polls right now. That's something we'll take up later in another video. We can share our screens. This is one of the most important capabilities of Zoom, so you definitely need to know how to do that. This button right here is very prominently featured to share your computer screen so that people can see what you're doing on your computer in a lecture situation. You just click that button and it asks you, well, what do you want to share? Almost always you will want to share your desktop, your entire screen. That's much simpler.
I don't know if I'm the only one, but I can't see the screen.
Me too.
You also have the option to share a whiteboard, but that's not going to come up. So sorry. Thank you for letting me know. There are options for that I'll show you later. Do I need to back it up?
Yes, please.
I'm not sure what happened there. My apologies. Thanks for letting me know. How far back? There's the participants tool. Did you see that?
No.
How about the backgrounds?
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay. That gives us a... sorry about that. You can go directly to your Yahoo Mail if you have that up.
How did that happen, Dave?
And it will give you, I'm not quite sure. I was working on something on another screen, and that must have popped up something on the main screen without me noticing it. I apologize. A message that you can send to whomever you wish that has all the information necessary to access the meeting. So that's a useful thing sometimes.
A question.
Let's see. That's probably, yes. Hello?
Where would we have set up this Yahoo account? Where would have
No,
we?
don't worry about that. You don't, that was just an example. I
Okay.
happen to use Yahoo Mail for my personal email. But you would, that's, indeed, you're probably never going to use that invite tool anyway, because you're going to give the students your personal meeting URL in advance. So you don't really need that. I just did that. I just covered that to be complete so that you'd know what that icon was there for. Another thing you can do is copy your Zoom URL to your clipboard and just paste that into an email and send it right away. But you've usually taken care of this before you start the meeting. You, as the host, can manage your participants in certain ways. First off, you can see who's in there, who's in here with you very quickly, how many people there are, and get some information about who they are, depending on how they've logged in. You can mute or unmute them at will, he said. What that does is send a message to them asking them to unmute themselves, actually. You can also chat with them directly. You can stop their video. You can make them a host so that they can do things that normally only you can do. Or well, you can make them the host and cut yourself off, or make them a co-host and they can do some of the things you can do that normally they wouldn't be able to. You can allow them to record, which people will occasionally record by themselves. So they get their own recording of this. If they happen to be a real-time captioner in your meeting, in order to provide that service, you can assign that to them. You can rename them, or you can kick them out of the meeting in an extreme circumstance. We won't be doing that today. Also, here are buttons where you can do things like, you can mute everyone at one time if you need to. You can unmute everyone. And you can set certain default behaviors. This is where you can also answer questions or surveys, yes, no. They can ask for go slower, go faster. They can like, dislike, and so on. But mainly what you're doing here as the host is looking to see who's in the meeting with you and muting and unmuting them at need more often than not. All righty, I'm not going to do polls right now. That's something we'll take up later in another video. We can share our screens. This is one of the most important capabilities of Zoom, so you definitely need to know how to do that. This button right here is very prominently featured to share your computer screen so that people can see what you're doing on your computer in a lecture situation. You just click that button and it asks you, well, what do you want to share? Almost always you will want to share your desktop, your entire screen. That's much simpler. Just do that and you'll be fine. You also have the option to share a whiteboard, but that's not going to come up very often, and there are better options for that I'll show you later in the presentation. But you probably want to share your dashboard. Here I have 3 dashboards because I have 3 screens on this machine. You will not probably have that, though you may well have 2. But I would share your entire screen. There are a couple of options down here at the bottom that you may want to consider if you're going to be sharing video with your attendees, like playing a YouTube video that you'd like them to see and hear. In that event, you should check both of these options. So the default is to have those off. And then just click Share. Now, whoever is attending this meeting is seeing this, whatever's on my desktop. Let's see, what else do I have here? I can move, this is my control bar that I have when I'm sharing, and I can move that to the top and bottom of the screen to get it out of the way if I need to. So let's say here, I might well be sharing my Canvas dashboard. Everybody in the meeting is now seeing my Canvas dashboard. And whatever I do here in real time shows up on their screens. And the sharing performance in Zoom is amazing. Even at relatively low bandwidth, your people who are in the meeting with you will be able to see your screen and what you're doing on it pretty much in real time. And you can play videos, like play a YouTube video. They will be able to see it and hear it. There may be some minor issues with lip sync if someone is talking in a close-up, but other than that, it's going to be nearly perfect. In this little control bar here, you can do a number of things. You can stop your video because there will be somewhere a little thumbnail with your video in it. You still have access to manage participants just as you did when you were showing your webcam. Polls. You can do a new share and replace this one. You can pause the share. If you want to do something for a moment that you don't want your attendees to see, you can pause the share. You can annotate. Let's see. Draw circles around things. Draw arrows. You can erase stuff. You can spotlight things. Use this little pointer that people have a hard time missing. You can draw, which is the default. Get the spotlight off here. And you can type text on the screen for them to see if you want to label something. So there's quite a lot you can do with annotation here. I'll go ahead and clear that. Remote control. You can give someone control of your screen while you are sharing your screen. They can request it from their menus, which they have while you are sharing, and then you can give it to them and they can show you something on your machine. And here are most of the other options that are not available in this menu bar, including your recording options and so on that you can change, and we'll look at in a moment. And if things get out of hand on annotations, you can disable participant annotations every time you need, anytime you need to. You can hide those floating meeting controls. Or you can even end the meeting from here, which we definitely won't do right now. And when you're done with your share, just go ahead and click this red button right here that'll always be right below your share control panel. And you'll be back with your participants seeing your webcam rather than your screen share. That's probably the most important thing that you need to know how to do in Zoom. This is a sharing control menu. If you have this checked, other people other than you can share but only one at a time. And then we're not going to look at advanced sharing options right now. Probably the second most useful tool in Zoom is the chat tool. If I click on that, I get a little chat window. Whatever I type in this message box at the bottom will be displayed once I press enter on the keyboard. You can display it to everyone or to other individuals in the meeting. If I just press enter, yes, whatever I type appears here. You can put links in here, all sorts of useful stuff. When you're done with the meeting, near time when you're done, you can save the chat using this little chat menu here if you like. And you can control who people can chat with and how, and so on. So the chat tool is very simple, very basic, works very reliably, and it's a wonderful thing to keep running as you're doing your presentation so that people can ask questions or participate or share comments without having to interrupt you. And you can move this window around on the screen. If you have multiple monitors, you can drag it right off to another screen and keep it open so that you can keep an eye on it the whole time. If you do not have the chat window open and somebody sends you a chat message, a little window will pop up at the bottom of the screen here with the first bit of the chat message in it, alerting you to the fact that there is something in the chat you might want to look at. Recording. You can record your Zoom sessions in really very reasonable quality, both your webcam video and anybody else who speaks, their video will, if they pop up on the screen, they'll be recorded, their video will be recorded, and their audio will be, all audio is recorded, both yours and participant audio. Whenever you share your screen, the screen shares will be recorded as well in quite reasonable quality. This makes Zoom a screencasting tool as well as being a meeting tool. Usually, you'll have the option to either record to your local computer or to the cloud. If you have Confer Zoom accounts, you have some cloud space that you can use for recordings as well. There are advantages to doing it both ways, and I have another video that we'll look at here in a minute that will show you how to do the recording. I'm not going to do that right now, but that's where you record. So if I wanted to record this session to the computer, I just click here.
This meeting is being recorded.
Everyone is told that you're recording them so that there's nobody is surprised later. And the recording continues. You can pause or stop this recording at any time. And if you stop the recording, you can start another recording later, and Zoom will save both of the recordings when you exit from the meeting. Indeed, if you have recorded at any time during the meeting, when you end the meeting, the recording will automatically either be saved to the cloud or saved to a Zoom folder in your documents directory on your local computer. I'm just going to go ahead and stop that now.
The recording has stopped.
And that pretty much covers what I wanted to on the Zoom menu here. Okay, I'm going to shut that down right there. So sorry about that problem in the middle there. I don't know what happened, how that window got up on the main monitor. I didn't think I'd done anything there. I was just answering questions in the chat tool. But thanks so much for letting me know that happened. I would have missed the whole thing. Very well. That's the Zoom host menus, the bulk of it, the things that you use every time anyway. The next thing we want to concentrate on is the last topic I touched on in that video, which is how to record your Zoom meetings. They are much more valuable if you can record them. If you remember to start the recording, that's the biggest problem with recording, is remembering to start it. You can tell Zoom to automatically record all of your meetings from the very beginning, but I don't like to do that because there's usually, I like to have an informal period up front before I actually start the recording. So there's no reason for people who are watching the recording later to have to sit through me telling you how to mute and unmute yourself and so on in a live meeting. So, because I cover that later anyway. So I don't like to do that, but that's, sometimes I just forget. And people who have been to a lot of these meetings have taken to reminding me, which I really appreciate sometimes at the beginning if I don't start it. But I don't have a real good answer for you on how to avoid that. But recording your meetings is an extremely valuable thing to do. Your students can watch the sessions later on. They can go back through them. They can fast forward through the parts they got and stop at the places where they need extra, need to see something again. And it also allows you to, in effect, use Zoom as a media production tool. You can just start a Zoom meeting that doesn't have anyone in it but you, and you can record something on your computer screen, share your screen, and then record something on the computer screen. Let me kill the share for a second. You can record something on your computer screen, save that recording, and then provide it to your online to your students later so that they can view it. You do a PowerPoint presentation that way and narrate it and save the video and put it into Canvas or whatever, using the Zoom in effect as a screencasting tool, we call that. So really versatile, but you do need to know how to record your meetings. You saw that, what the little record button looks like on the host menus. You may see that record button right now, but it's deactivated for you because by default, only the host can record a meeting. You can, as the host, allow someone else to record, but you have to do it on an individual basis. You can't just let everybody record the meeting if they want to. So normally you'll be the one recording the meeting. And as I mentioned there, you will have two options on what to do with the recording, how to handle the recording, I should say. The two options are either to record to the Zoom cloud, which is the default option in Confer Zoom accounts. And it's a good option. And it's very simple for you because you just say record. And Zoom sends at the end of the meeting, Zoom sends the recording automatically to their own servers and puts a link and creates a link to it and everything, and then sends you an email with the link to the recording. I don't especially like that option myself because I lose control of the recording. It goes up to Zoom and then I lose control of it. Also, it doesn't give me the option to edit the recording if I want to do that before I put it up. But I just don't like to lose control of my own video. I like to have a local copy of it. And that's what recording to the local computer will give you automatically. If you do that, however, you have to load that video. You have to be able to find that video, which is on your computer, which is very easy. But then you have to load that to YouTube or some other video service. Certainly YouTube would be my recommendation. It's the best one and free and unlimited and very robust, and YouTube's never going to go down. Or if YouTube goes down, the apocalypse has come and we got lots of other problems. So you know, it's up to you how you want to do it. Certainly recording to the Zoom cloud is simpler, though you do also have a limited amount of storage space on the Zoom cloud. You can eventually run out of space there and have to delete stuff and download it eventually anyway, in which case, and if I'm going to, and I do so much recording, if I'm going to have to do that anyway, I'm just going to put it on YouTube in the first place. And I'm going to show you how to do that. The recording to the Zoom cloud is a trivial exercise. You just click on the record button and it happens. And there's nothing else you have to do. I'll show you how to access those recordings. Recording to the local computer and uploading to YouTube takes a little bit more doing. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Let me share my screen again. I'll remember to do that. All right, there's, oh geez. Okay, that's showing yourself on video is such a humbling experience. Actually, that is one of the biggest impediments I've run across in the past of people actually making video recordings and using tools like Zoom, is they don't like to look at themselves. I've grown inured to that. It's certainly not especially entertaining, but at least I can get past it. So, first thing, in order to be able to record to your local computer, which is not an automatic option in Zoom, you have to go to your Zoom settings again at zoom.us. Notice this now says conferzoom.us, ccconfer.zoom.us. That's the same thing as zoom.us. It's just an alternate URL that ccconfer maintains. But you're in the same place. You're at Zoom. You're managing your Zoom account. Same as if you'd just gone to zoom.us. So under settings here, if you click on the recording tab, the top option is to turn on local recording. You just turn that on. It will probably be turned off in your Confer Zoom account by default. I'm not quite sure why. Well, what that has the effect of doing is making, when you record, making the Zoom cloud the default. So if you just hit record, it's going to go to the Zoom cloud, to Zoom's own servers instead of someplace else you might put it. But I like to, as I explained, I like to record locally. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to set that on. And now when I click record, I'll have the option to record either to my local computer or to the Zoom cloud. So let's assume I've chosen the local computer, which I did when I started the recording for this meeting. What then happens? Well, nothing apparent happens until you end the meeting. Once you end the meeting, your computer will then begin rendering or squeezing that video that is kept in a temporary storage location up to that point, and storing it, and will begin storing it in a folder on your local hard drive. That process may take some time if it was a long meeting, depending on the speed of your computer. So it's a good idea to leave your computer on for a while after you finish a meeting that you've decided to record locally. If you can't or forget to do so, it's no big deal, because the recording will automatically start rendering again when you turn the computer back on. But you will delay the time when that recording will be available on your local hard drive. But let's say the computer's finished rendering that video and it's stored it on the local hard drive. Where does it store it? It stores it in your default documents folder, either on a Windows PC or on the Mac, in a folder that Zoom automatically creates when you do this, called Zoom. So under Documents, Zoom is where we'll find those recordings. If I open up that Zoom folder, here are my Zoom local recordings that I've done over the last couple of years. And you may build up quite a few like that too. But you can always tell which recording is which by looking at the name of the folder that contains it. You'll see the date, or I'm sorry, the year, the month, and the day, and the time that the recording was started. And that will tell you which one is which. Excuse me. I have started saving stuff here today, so I've got a folder for today's recording. 20th April 2nd, 2020. Started just before 2 o'clock. This is in 24-hour military time. So 2 o'clock would be 1400 hours. This is just before that. So that's the one I'm working on right now, but that recording's not complete. I don't want to show you that one. Let me show you the one from yesterday. I just opened that one up. This is what you will find in that recording folder after everything is finished. If you save your chat tool, like I showed you in that movie, the chat log will be here. You can just open that up and see the chat log from yesterday. But the video recording with the audio will be at the bottom of the file list, and it'll almost always be called Zoom_0. That's just a default name that Zoom uses. So that's the video that contains your recording. It's a whopper of a file. That one is 642 megabytes. That's a lot of storage. You have in your Canvas shell, for instance, you have 1,000 megabytes of storage. You can put too many of those in there, obviously. So what do you do with this? Well, my strong recommendation would be to put this up on YouTube and then share it with your students from there. And that process is actually really simple once you have your YouTube account set up. So let's talk about how to do that. We can go to YouTube here. Let's see, I have that open somewhere. Yep. Let me just show you what it looks like when you first come in to YouTube, in case you're not familiar with that. Here's YouTube. And lots of cat videos and stuff like that. That's all right, it won't hurt anything. You can have a YouTube account for free. Indeed, if you already use Gmail for your personal mail, or if you use Google Docs, or any one of a number of other Google services, you already have a YouTube account, because your YouTube account is actually just your Google account. And it's kind of hard to live these days without having a Google account. But if you don't, it's simple enough to get a Google account for free by just going to accounts.google.com, accounts plural.google.com. And if you don't have a Google account already, you'll be prompted to create one. It's a very simple process. But if you do have a YouTube account or a Google account, you already have a YouTube account. All you have to do is use it. If you're logged into your Google account, when you enter YouTube, you'll see a little circle up here with either with a picture of you in it, if you've added a profile picture to your Google account, or just a little silhouette here. And you click on that, and if you're not logged in, it'll prompt you to log in with your Google account credentials. If you already are, it will give you some menus on using YouTube. But you don't need to do that right now. As long as you're logged in, you're fine. To put your video up on YouTube, all you have to do is click on this little icon right here that if you mouse over it says create a video and more. A little camera icon. You just click on it and select upload video. And then Google starts and leads you through the process by the hand. It first asks you to select a file that you want to upload. in this case, I would go to my documents file to Zoom, find the Zoom recording I just made, select it and click open. But that's a huge video. That's going to take a while. I don't want you to have to wait around while that's processing for me to show you this. So I'm going to pick a shorter video off my list just to illustrate the process. So I'll click select file, and I'll go to my videos file here, and let me find something that's a little, let's see what that is. Hopefully it's nothing too embarrassing. I try not to leave those on my computer. So you select the video you want to upload and you click open. And Zoom or YouTube proceeds to upload it. You only have to tell YouTube a couple of things. One is the name that you want associated with the video. And I believe this was a forgot password. My mother told me to learn to type. Forgot password tool. I'm not sure if that's Canvas or Zoom. We'll find out. I'll just leave it at that. I can always edit this later. Also, if you haven't already uploaded something, you'll have to tell YouTube, I'll get it out in a minute, that this is not made for kids. And by kids, they mean someone under 13. So tell them that, they'll insist. And then you just, processing abandoned. Oh, shoot. I've already uploaded that one and YouTube won't let me upload it again. Rats. All right, let's try something else. I've uploaded those. Probably uploaded this one too. Shoot. No, I've uploaded that one. Let's try this one. And I put in the name. I tell it it's not for kids. I click next. I don't worry about this next page. There's nothing there you have to do. Go to next. And I have to tell YouTube how visible I want this video to be. You'll never select private unless you're putting your baby videos up there. That's too restrictive, and it would make it difficult for your students to get in. So public or unlisted are the viable options for you. Public is obvious. Anybody can view it. Anybody can search for it. Unlisted means anybody can view it but only if you give them the link to the video. And they can't guess this link. So if you don't give them the link, they're not going to find it. So this unlisted is effectively private for people who to whom you've given the link. And you click, when you've selected that, you just click save, and YouTube will finish the process on its own. Unless it abandons this one too, we'll see, hopefully. We had trouble saving your video, retrying in 7 seconds. We were not able to save your video. Oh shoot, I've already uploaded that one too. Well, rats. Well, at least I got to show you the process that time. And that's all you have to do, except wait for YouTube to come back to you. Let me get rid of these. They don't want you putting the same thing up there multiple times for obvious reasons. It wastes space. So after you click save, if YouTube is not being snippy with you, which it won't be, it's the first time you've uploaded the video appears or in a list of all the videos that you've created. To to share this video with your students, you will need the share URL, the link to the video. So you can just click on this little details pencil here, and there's your actual video link for that recording. That is a Zoom, looks like a, yeah, that's a Zoom recording. You can copy that to your clipboard, and then you can share that with your students through Canvas in a variety of ways. And we just did our seminar on adding video to Canvas. But one way to do that is just to put a link to the video in a module. Go to external URL. Paste in the YouTube link. Name it. Do load it in a new tab. That will work a lot better. And then click Add Item. Then your students can view that video just by clicking on the link here. Opening it in a new window, they go to YouTube and they play the video. You do not want to try to upload these recordings directly to Canvas because they're too big. But YouTube will handle them fine. Another way you can put this into Canvas is you can create a page for your video. In a module, just add a page to the module, make it a new page, call it what you will, what makes sense. Edit the page, and this is, it's not a Canvas session, but you do need to know this if you're going to record your Zoom videos and put them in Canvas. You can embed them in Canvas by using in a Canvas page by using the Insert Edit Media tool, and just again pasting that share URL into the source box on the Insert Edit Media tool. Click OK, and now students get a nice sexy looking embed that they can click on and play the video. And then full screen it. Okay, I remember it this time. This does not load the video into Canvas. This is just a fancy link. The video stays on YouTube, and YouTube pays for the storage and the bandwidth, which they're happy to do because they make a lot of money in other ways. So it's a useful thing. Okay, so that's how you can share those recordings with your students from YouTube. If you have uploaded to the Zoom cloud, on the other hand, you can go to Zoom. Let's see. There I am. And go, again, log in at zoom.us and go to your recordings in this list over here. And here are here's where the recordings will be that you've uploaded to the Zoom cloud, or that you've recorded to the cloud instead of to the local computer. You can click the share button opposite the video, and here's the recording URL, which you can just copy to your clipboard, and you can put that into Canvas in pretty much the same way that you can a YouTube video, except this one you can't embed into Canvas. Oops, I think I got rid of Canvas, not meaning to. Let me get back in here. Let's just pick a place to put it. If you're going to put this Zoom recording from the Zoom cloud into Canvas, the only effective way to do it is to create an external URL link in a module. Click on that, Select external URL, paste that URL we just got from the Zoom cloud in, give it a name, Zoom recording, Zoom recording from Zoom cloud. You do have to, absolutely have to load this in a new tab if you're pinning something in from the Zoom cloud. And now the student clicks on that link, opens it in a new window in Essential, and there's the video, and they can just play it from here. Takes it a second to come up. There we go. And then just play it from here. And this one, and up it goes. We're now recording. And welcome to today. This one, like the YouTube recording, will be automatically captioned.
Oh, will be.
And it'll work fine. Either one is a perfectly good option. All right. Ooh, I'm sorry, that little glitch I had with the recording put us a little behind. I'll get this done as quickly as I can. There are a couple of things I need to show you yet, though. So we've seen how to record the Zoom meeting, either to the cloud or to the local computer, and then put it up on YouTube if we record it at the local computer, and then how to share that with our students. So that's a big part of it. There is one other element to lecturing in Zoom, however, that that we haven't talked about so far. Something that you would have access to in your physical classroom that I haven't shown you how to do in Zoom yet. It's getting a little dark here in my studio, so let me turn the lights on. And that's using the whiteboard in the classroom. I mean, most of us still at this point in time, at some point during the lecture, get up and write stuff on the whiteboard and talk about it. And it's particularly in STEM fields, it can be very difficult to lecture without having that kind of option. And I haven't shown you anything in Zoom yet that would replace that for you in a Zoom lecture. I'm about to do that. There's actually more than one way to do that. One, and not a very good one, unfortunately, is to use what's called the Zoom shared whiteboard. When you share your screen with Zoom, and somebody had asked earlier in the chat tool about, well, why would you start a new share if you're already sharing? And the answer to that is, well, there are things you can share other than your computer screen, like your iPhone, your iPad, or a shared Zoom whiteboard. And this is what that looks like. Just a whiteboard that you can draw on. You can try to write on it. With a mouse, that's very hard. If you have a graphics tablet, it's a little easier, but it's still not that easy with like a Wacom tablet. So I'm not too, this you can share with your students. You can give your students the right to write on here too and share drawings with you and so on, but it's not easy for them either. They probably don't have a graphics tablet. So I just don't find this whiteboard all that useful. I'm going to end that screen. There's a much better solution. Unfortunately, it's not free, but neither is the graphics tablet that you would have to really do much good with that. Though you can also use your iPad and the stylus. You have one of those, but Lord knows the iPad's not free. This, what I'm about to show you, is a heck of a lot cheaper than the iPad, unless you happen to already have one. And it is what's called a USB document camera. It can be purchased from Amazon or a variety of other suppliers. There are several different manufacturers, but the manufacturer I would recommend, let me go to Amazon to show this to you, is called IPEVO, I-P-E-V-O. And there's the camera you want. Shucks. Oh, no, that's an old one. Oh, God. That one doesn't even work anymore. Oh, nuts. The one I was going to show you is not available again at Amazon. It goes in and out of stock all the time. Let me show it to you at the IPEVO website because you may be able to find it somewhere else. Shoot, that's too bad. We were able to get them last time I did this, but here is the camera that I would recommend. It's this one right here. Their entry model. It's 99 bucks. You can get it. You'll pay that for it anywhere. If you see it anywhere, you're going to pay that price. So might try Best Buy, Walmart, places like that as well if you're interested. Because this is a tremendous tool. Here's what it allows you to do.
We can't see your screen.
Oh, am I not sharing? I am not.
No.
Thank you. Just a second, I'll fix that. There we go. I do appreciate it. Make sure I'm sharing the screen and not the whiteboard. And now let me bring that up again. There we go. Here's what the camera looks like at ipevo.com. I looked for this on Amazon. It's not available right now, but other places it might be. And here's what you can do with that. While you're sharing your screen, just in the usual way in Zoom, you can bring up an application that comes, a piece of software that comes with the camera, called the IPEVO Visualizer. And it's simple enough. It's just a piece of software that will throw the image of what the document camera is seeing up onto your shared monitor, your shared screen. Initially, it's upside down and backwards, but the software allows you to fix that just by rotating stuff around. Now, whatever the camera sees, your students can see. And with another not so high-tech item, a Sharpie and a legal pad, whatever you write on underneath the camera, your students will see. It's a whiteboard, in effect. You can also put three-dimensional objects up there and do show and tell. I use this when I show people how to, in a second, I'm going to show you how to get into Zoom this way. As a matter of fact, let me do that right now. In fact, I've already got this iPhone in Zoom, in our Zoom meeting, so let me get it out of that. Except my poor old iPhone is locked up on me. Well, I'm going to have to restart it before I can do that. Oh, there it goes. We'll see when that comes back here in a second. That iPhone's way too many generations old. But so this replaces your whiteboard. And this is going to become a part of the recorded Zoom session, so your students can come back and watch it again, which they can't do when you're lecturing live in class. So this is another one of those areas where Zoom is even better in some ways. You can improvise a document camera if you can't buy one or choose not to buy one. I understand $100 is not free. You can improvise one, and we have a tutorial on our on-demand website that will show you how to do that. Again, that's sdccdolvid.org. And if you just go to the search box and search for document camera or something like that. You get a video we did some years ago on how to hack up a document camera using your smartphone's camera. I've seen a lot of creative solutions to this over the years after we first put this video up there. This is one option. I just set everything on top of a computer, a desktop computer, and a box to make it a little higher. Let me bring that up so you can see a little better. There it is. Yeah. It just got the smartphone strapped to a ruler with a rubber band and some weights over here to hold it up in the air. Again, I've seen lots of innovative ways of just suspending your iPhone or your Android phone up in the air above your paper on the desk and holding it there without you having to hold it with your other hand. And you can, using the instructions in this video, you can mock up or improvise a document camera in that way and not have to pay $100 and not have to wait for it to come in. But this is a critical part of lecturing on Zoom, especially in STEM fields, where writing mathematical notation and drawing scientific diagrams and things like that is just an essential if you're going to lecture live. You can't create everything in advance and in practical terms, and throw it up on your computer screen. So this is really a very, very handy and almost essential tool in some cases. And it is something you can mock up using your smartphone if you can't buy the purpose-built video camera or USB document camera. I got to tell you, it's a lot easier. It works a lot better if you have the document camera. If you can possibly keep an eye out for one of those and buy it. I've got an ancient model. If you could find one on eBay or something like that, it'd probably be fine, because I've got their first model of that camera here right now that I've had for 7 or 8 years, and it still works like a charm. So there's no particular reason they have to have the latest and greatest, and you can probably save some money too. But that's something that you really probably do want for Zoom, because you can show people how to do something like this as well. I can zoom in a little bit here so you can see this a little better. There's my iPhone. There's a Zoom app here. If your students, and many of your students may well need to attend your Zoom meetings through a smartphone, because they may not have a computer anymore. They may do everything with their phones or their tablets. In order to attend a Zoom meeting from a phone or a tablet, they have to have the Zoom app already loaded on it. Unlike a computer, where Zoom will automatically install the client for them when they click on the link to your meeting, with the smartphone, they have to have the Zoom app on it to start with. But then they can just tap on a link in an email and go right into your meeting on the smartphone as well. But more often, to enter Zoom from a smartphone, they'll just tap on the Zoom app and be given the option to join. There's the join button right there. Tap on that, and they're asked for the meeting ID, which is in your profile, that number right there, 391-499-5946. They just type it in, 391-499-5946. I don't have that remembered. and then just join. By the way, if you're doing this in the same room, oops, I mistyped it, shoot. 391-499-5946. 5946. Join. I do have to mute the phone quickly if I've got it in the same room with my computer.
This meeting is being recorded.
Otherwise, you get that kind of stuff going on. Now it's muted. It's muted down in the lower left here as well. So now they're in the meeting with their smartphone. And in fact, the meeting experience on a smartphone is amazingly good. When I was showing that video, I went out of the room for a little bit just to make sure it was coming through okay. I left the room so I wouldn't be interfering with the sound, and I joined the phone to the meeting and watched a little bit of that video, and it was coming through great. So I knew you were seeing it fine and hearing it fine. So the experience on the phone is really not bad. The only time they really might have a little bit of a problem on the phone is if you're doing something with real fine print, sharing it on your computer screen. But in the event of that, they can pinch zoom. They can zoom in on the phone so they can see better. So it's really a great experience. And they can be anywhere. They have decent cellular connectivity, and they can then attend the meeting effectively. And a lot of your students will be doing that, so it's something to think about. The major thing I'd point out here for you to think about when you're sharing your screen is there's going to be this little video window in the upper right-hand corner of their smartphone screen that can cover up some of what you're talking about. So it's always a good idea to keep this upper right-hand corner of the screen up here out of play, so that you're not expecting students to see anything up there because their smartphone video may be there. And I don't know of any way to turn that off on the smartphone. So just a consideration. All right. That, I think, let me check my outline here. There it is. We talked about the Canvas integration earlier, so they've done all that. Let me ask you now if you have any further questions. There were some questions in the chat tool earlier. I answered some of those, but I'll certainly be happy to revisit them if you have other questions. In the meantime, let me go back and look at those. And please feel free to ask more right now.
Okay, I don't see a place to raise my hand.
It's buried. It's in the participants tool.
Oh, okay.
But
So
even if that's one thing that doesn't work that great in Zoom, because even if you do that, if I don't happen to be looking at my participants tool over here on another screen, I don't see it. And there's no audible cue that you've raised your hand, which is one thing I would change about Zoom. So just talk is the way to do it, which is what you're doing.
Is there an advantage to using, once you've recorded your thing on Zoom, your lecture on Zoom, is there an advantage to putting it through YouTube rather than just uploading the Zoom file into Canvas?
There are some advantages to doing it that way, but they may not be compelling for you.
Mm-hmm.
If you record to the local computer, you retain control of your recording. Mm-hmm. Except, of course, if you upload it to Google or to YouTube, Google has it, but trust me when I tell you that Google is not interested in our recordings. The Zoom
Right.
cloud, probably that's fine too, but I just like to maintain control over the recording. And I feel like I have more control on YouTube than I do in the Zoom cloud.
So putting
Also,
it in
I have my, I'm sorry?
putting it in Canvas, so there's no advantage one way or the other.
Well, no, because if you really can't upload these videos directly into Canvas. They're too big.
Oh, okay.
You don't
So
have
you
enough
do have to go
space in your Canvas shell. So you got to put it on the Zoom cloud or on YouTube or some other online option. But those are the two most likely possibilities.
Right. But it doesn't matter whether it's a Zoom cloud or YouTube.
Well, they both work well right now. I have my concerns about the viability of the Zoom cloud moving forward, because Zoom is a relatively small company compared to Google.
Mhm.
I know YouTube will be there right up to the point where the apocalypse hits. I'm not as sure about Zoom. And if I haven't saved a copy of that video to my local hard drive and the Zoom cloud goes non-functional, then I've lost that video for the duration. So I'm a little paranoid about that. Been making videos a long time. I like to know I have a copy of it where I control it. But that, again, that's just me. Also, they both produce good quality video. They both produce good automatic captions.
Mhm.
So you really can't go too far wrong using the Zoom cloud either.
Okay.
And it's
Okay.
simpler.
Oh, yes. Yeah. One other question. This is maybe a little irrelevant. I was trying to get my background picture. You can see my white door
Right.
and stuff back here. And I wanted to get the woods, but my computer said that it was too old to do it without a green wall or something, or a green.
Oh, really? I've never seen that. I didn't know that was a possibility. Shoot. Yeah. So what you can do there is you can get yourself a green screen drape to hang over that door behind you.
Like a sheet.
Yeah, well, you're
Like a
not
tablecloth.
likely to find a sheet that color, but you can go to Amazon, and I think I'm still sharing my screen. And thanks to whomever reminded me of that a minute ago. That it's nice to have your attendees help you out with stuff like that because everybody forgets. If we go to Amazon, you can search for chroma key. Is the name of the technique that they're using to make that virtual desktop work. Chroma key backdrop is the thing you want to search for.
Mm-hmm.
And here's Amazon's choice. Wow, that's gotten more expensive. Gee, that one was about $20 the other day.
Dave,
Yes.
Pat Mosteller from the college and Claudia both said that they went to Vaughn's or Dollar Tree and got a green tablecloth for $1.
That's great.
Yeah, isn't that great? Don't you love to put it to them?
I love to put it to the man. No kidding. Here's a bestseller. This is the one this one's perfectly adequate for $23. And for just a little more, you can get the stands to go with it, which is the challenge sometimes with making it stand up. But with that door right behind you, Jan, you could just throw it over the door and it would probably work.
Do you have to if you can, you know how you guys are clicking on pictures that are already on there, choices for a backdrop?
Right.
How do you have to have pictures on your laptop in order to choose from them? How do you get pictures that you want to put behind you?
Zoom provides you with a certain number of stock photos that you can use.
Okay.
If you want to, you can add your own to it, however. there's a little button, and this is another one of those things I can't show you in real time on Zoom. But there is, on that virtual background window in Zoom, there's an option to add your own picture.
Yeah.
It's just a button you click on. And then it will allow you to pull a picture that is on your laptop or on your desktop computer into Zoom and use it there.
Does it have to be a photo that I uploaded, or are there photos that are already on there?
There are photos that are already on there.
Oh, great. Okay.
But if you want your own choice, like if you want, I've got my backyard behind me. I had to upload that or drop that photo onto my computer, and then have Zoom selected as a background option. And Zoom remembers it. It loads it into your client, and you can keep using it.
Okay.
As long as you like. But yeah, it's fun to play with. It's scarcely. It can actually be used instructionally, because you could take you could save say a PowerPoint slide as an image file and put that behind you and talk about the PowerPoint slide. And you can change those visual or virtual backgrounds at will. So you could go in and change to a different slide and keep talking, and change to a different slide and so on. You could have yourself down there doing the weather person thing, and so I'm pointing at the bullets on the slide. So yeah, what can I say? You can have some fun with it. It's the instructional value is of questionable questionable magnitude, but it's fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, let me let me go take one from the chat tool here that came in after I finished meeting those, or after I finished answering those, excuse me. Will I be talking about breakout rooms? I can do that. I tell you what, I'd like to get some of these other questions out of the way first, but breakout rooms are a feature of your Zoom Pro accounts that you can use. And what I might do on that, think of it too, since it's difficult to demonstrate that in the amount of time we have, let me send you a link, Zoom's link, to breakout, using breakout rooms. Managing breakout rooms. Da-da, da-da, da-da. Oops, I had a message here I hadn't finished. Just a second. Okay, got that one done. Remember, you can save this chat tool. It was mentioned in the video, but you go to the bottom right corner of the chat box, and there's a little menu button. There's 3 dots in a row. If you click on that menu button, you have an option to save the chat. And the stuff I'm putting in there. Okay, there's that link. All right.
Then do you hit show in folder?
I'm sorry now?
You hit saved, and then do you hit show in folder?
No, right, exactly.
Okay.
And that makes it easy to find. I showed you earlier how to find it
Yep.
manually, but that's quicker, no doubt about it. Good point. Let's see. Sure. If you share a screen, do you open the screen you want to share before the meeting, or can you do it when you change the screen? You can do either. If you're only going to share like one screen or something like that, you can have that up before you even start the Zoom meeting, and then just have it behind the Zoom window, and then when you share the screen, it just shows up. or you can open it up after you share your screen. You'll probably end up having to do that if you're going to share more than one window from time to time. So either way, it's just a matter of convenience.
When I show a video, excuse me, when I show
Yeah.
a video, my students see it very choppy. Is that because my computer is old, or what could it be from?
More likely a bandwidth problem on their end.
I have broadband.
No, they're
On
on
their,
but yeah, it may be coming out of yours fine, but their connection to the internet also matters. And if their connection is a little limited, the video can be somewhat choppy. Usually it's watchable, but it can be a little Max Headroom-ish, if you remember him.
Thank you.
Choppy, jerky. And there's probably not much you can do about that. Here's an interesting, a little bit more advanced question, Linda. If you pause during recording and have 2 or more Zoom video files, how do you get them all on the same YouTube? The answer is you have to edit them together. You have to stick them, you have an editor to stick them together. There is an editor in YouTube that they keep sneaking up on. The last time I looked at it, it didn't really have that capability. You're more likely to need an offline editor, like Camtasia or something like that. If that's just an occasional problem, you can send the videos to me and I can stick them together for you.
Okay.
If it's something that you're going to want, if you're going to want to manipulate your videos on a regular basis before you upload them to YouTube, and of course, if you're talking the Zoom cloud, there's nothing you can do. You're just going to end up with multiple videos, and the students just have to watch one after the other. But if you're putting, that's another advantage to putting your videos up on YouTube, is that you can do things like this before you put them up on YouTube, so that students will only have the one video to watch. But that does require a video editor of some sort, and I don't know that the one in YouTube is really up to that yet, where you could stick 2 YouTube videos together and have them watched one after another. There may be a way to do that. It's just that I never worry about that because I just edit it before I put it up there. But there are other things you can do in the terms of editing to make your Zoom recordings a little bit easier to watch. You saw some of that in that video I showed you, where the video was zooming in and out so that you could see things that were smaller on the screen more clearly.
Mm-hmm.
That was done in post-production in Camtasia. That I didn't record it that way. I put those zoom effects in later, and that makes that video a lot easier for somebody to watch on a smartphone. I did that in response to some feedback from a faculty member who said, I was trying to watch on a smartphone. It's really hard to see some of what you were talking about. So I was able to fix that in Camtasia. Without the editor, I couldn't do that. Camtasia is not a free piece of software, unfortunately. As video editors go, it's extremely cheap, especially for educators. It's $170 for an educational license. It's not a subscription. You get it, it's yours. You don't ever lose use of it. But it's not super cheap either. And I've been kind of testing the waters as we move past some of these introductory sessions and so on, as more and more people have been introduced to Zoom and to Canvas. I hope to do some more intermediate type sessions. And one of those I hope to do is a session on how to use Camtasia to edit these videos. So I'll be scheduling that at some point in the next couple of months, hopefully. And I'll be happy to go over that with you. If you decide you want to try Camtasia, you can get a free trial that will work for 30 days.
Oh.
you can't publish from it, but you can try it and see if you can get a feel for it.
Okay, thanks.
So you can do that at the TechSmith website at techsmith.com. And just go to products and Camtasia. It's amazing fun and very powerful. It's all the video editor I will ever need, and I do a lot of videos. So
Okay,
I
thank
would
you.
recommend it. You bet. Good question. My dock camera is set for mirror. I can't get rid of the mirror setting. Kenna, if you're still here, do you have one of the IPVO cameras?
Yes, I do.
Yes, I do. Ah, good. In the IPVO visualizer, which I believe you're seeing on your screen right now.
Yeah.
It's just this tool right here, rotate and mirror. You
Well,
click on
I
that.
do that. Oh,
Uh-huh.
rotate the mirror. Well, I don't have that on mine.
This icon right here. I think
What
this is
I have is this to rotate, and I can rotate it upside down or right side up or portrait or landscape, but it
Right.
has a mirror in here, and there are no there's no little mirror things up here at the top menu bar. I just don't see the
So
menu.
you're not seeing what I see here. You're not seeing what I'm showing you right now.
Yes, that's how I set it. And mirror is in yellow.
Right. Well,
I
but
don't want it
normally,
to be-
let me get this way. Normally, this tool right here, this rotational tool, will also take care of that.
Well, no, because I've been playing around with it. But is mirror supposed to be in yellow? Does
Well,
that mean that the mirror's on?
Yeah, rotate and mirror. Oh, here you are. Here are your mirror tools. These two little squares.
Has horizontal and portrait, vertical.
Vertical. So you just keep punching these and you'll end up with something you can read.
Okay, just keep
punching until you see what you want.
Okay, I'll keep punching away.
But those are your actual controls. This is just a label. But these are your actual controls here.
Okay,
horizontal, vertical, mirror.
So then if I just keep punching, will the yellow mirror words go away?
No. That's just a label. It's just telling you that these are your mirror controls.
Oh, and it's supposed to be upside down like that. A, B is upside down.
Yeah. To get this, because you're inverting the image from what the camera has a simple lens rather than a complex lens that can invert erect the image itself. So you have to do it in software like this. Otherwise, the camera would cost $500 instead of $100. So it's worth it.
Let's see what it does.
Okay.
Well, it just doesn't work.
I think it will work for you.
Okay, I'll play with it.
Very good. Let's see. Students can't speak from their phone in a Zoom meeting, correct? Can they chat? Actually, students can speak from their phone. Well, whoa. Let me make sure.
No, they can. They can.
What you're asking? Yeah, the phone has a microphone in it, so the student can talk to you through the microphone in the phone, unless they're muted. They can certainly chat on the phone. The chat tool on the phone, on the other hand, is, see if I can show it to you. Let me bring the visualizer back up here. I love this little camera and this software. There's the phone. I have to focus the thing again. Let me zoom in a little bit here. Uh-oh, I've gotten rid of my controls somehow. What did I do there? A-ho. Never seen that before. Start over. Sorry about that. Okay. Now rotate it. And zoom in. Now the chat tool, if I tap on the screen, I get the participants button over here. I tap on that. Here's your chat tool down in the lower left-hand corner. And there's the chat. And here's the box. I can tap there and type. So you can do just about everything on the phone that you can do on the computer when you're attending a meeting. You can even, in a pinch, run your class from a phone. I've had to do it a couple of times when my internet connection at home went down. I had to go war driving to find a cell signal because I'm out in the country here and I don't get good cell service at home. So I had to drive into town, find a tree to park under that had good cell service, and I ran the class from my phone because you can share your screens off the phones now. It's absolutely amazing. See if I can get it out of chat here. Close. I tap on the screen. Close that. Tap on the screen. There's a share button here. And I can now share my screen, my phone screen, or my iPad screen. If you have an iPad or an Android tablet, you can share that screen with your students as well. So with a little desperation and a little bit of practice, you can actually run your class from your phone if you get stuck somewhere. So Zoom is just awesome. It's begun to get a little, because it's become so prominent, it's begun to get a little negative publicity for some minor flaws in it. But it just works so well. And the minor flaws are easily dealt with or lived with. Probably the biggest thing that you may have heard of is the FBI even sent out an email about this, for Christ's sake. Surely they have more important things to do. About Zoom bombing. People joining your Zoom meeting that you didn't invite and being disruptive. Well, Jiminy Crickets, all you have to do is bring up your participants tool and kick them out of the meeting. I showed you how to do that in that little video. And I'm working on a Zoom bombing video. I've got it all recorded. I just have to edit it together and get it online, which hopefully I'll have tomorrow. But you can, if somebody comes in and tries to disrupt things, you can throw them out of the meeting in just a few seconds. And they can't come back. If you remove someone from a Zoom meeting, from your Zoom meeting, they can't come back into that meeting. They can try again later in another meeting, but they can't come back into that one because Zoom nails their IP address and won't let it back into that meeting. At least I assume that's how they're doing it. So the minor issues we've had with it are easily dealt with, and the capabilities are just awesome. You can really teach your students over Zoom and really give them an effective lecture. Katie Palacios, who's one of the most clever people at the district, my former colleague, came up with a way where you can even proctor your tests on Zoom quite effectively. If you have your students all take the test at the same time, and you can arrange that in Canvas by not releasing it except over a certain narrow period of time, you can force the students to, and you can password protect the test on Canvas. So you can force the students to come into the Zoom meeting in order to get the password, and then have them take it while you're sitting there watching them in gallery view. And you can require them to share their screens so that you can see what they're doing on their computers. So you can tell that they're not going out and looking up the answers on Google or something like that. And it's not foolproof, but it's probably at least as good as what you would have standing in a classroom watching them. And it seems to work like a charm. She did a little proof of concept video that was just awesome. So the things we can do with Zoom, we're limited only by our imaginations in most cases. It's just an awesome virtual classroom tool. And I don't know what we do without it. Does anybody else have another question?
Dave, can you hear me?
I sure can.
Well, I'm just using my laptop for the first time, and it has the mic and everything in it. And I just want to make sure it worked. That's all.
Like a charm. I see you
wonderful.
perfectly, and I hear you wonderfully.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Dave. I appreciate all your help and all your explanations, and you're so patient with all of us. I do appreciate that.
I could say that about any one of you, and we wouldn't be in this profession if we couldn't be patient. Because we would have done someone, ourselves or someone else, harm long ago if we didn't have that capability.
Oh, that's for sure.
But thank you. You're very sweet, and I really enjoy this. This is the closest thing we have to a social life at this point in time.
Well, I'm hoping to do my first meeting on Monday, so I've got a lot of the tools now, so I'm good with that. So
that's fantastic.
Let's give it a shot. All right,
yeah,
David.
Give it a shot. It won't be perfect the first time.
No, it won't be perfect, but if we can get it
you
started,
may have noticed that this is not my first time. This is like my several thousandth time, and I wasn't perfect today either. So just don't feel bad about it. Just do it. Let your students help you out, and I bet they'll love it.
Thank you very much, Dave.
My pleasure.
Dave,
anybody else? Yes.
Yeah, Dave. Is there a recording of Katie's little project with Zoom testing?
Yes. If you would like the link, please email me. I could. It might take me a minute to find it right now. I have to go and search for her email to me, but I'll send it to you.
Great.
And it works like a shot, because there's a capability in Zoom I didn't talk about today. You can actually have multiple people share their screens at the same time when you're in as the host, and then you can change between them and view them. So you can have your entire class share their screen theoretically, and then you could just tap between them and keep it up, and they'd never know which one you were looking at. So
yeah, right.
It's the virtual equivalent of standing in the back of the room when you're proctoring an exam, so they can't see where you're looking.
Interesting. Okay, that sounds good.
But yeah, it really just amazed me. I'd never thought of doing that with Zoom. They do have to pretty much do it in real time. They have to all take the test at the same time. But hey, if it's a classroom course, they weren't expecting anything else anyway. So you can require them to, I'm going to give the test at 2 p.m. this afternoon. Be there if you want to take it.
Thank you so much, Dave.
You bet.
Really appreciate
My pleasure. Anybody else?
Excuse
Yeah,
me, Dave. Oh, sorry.
The way it works.
When the students connect with their phone, if they want to chat, can they, instead of typing on the little phone, can they use their microphone?
Not for chat.
Like
No, chat.
you know how?
Oops, I lost you there for a second.
Okay, so you know when on the phone you want to text, you use your voice instead of typing. Can they do that when they chat?
No, not with the Zoom chat tool, I'm afraid. It's, as far as I know, it's typing only.
Thank you.
You bet. That would be cool, though.
Dave, I have a question for you. I don't know if there's an answer to it, but I also am, because I may know, I've never done this. So I teach voice class, which is working out very well, but I also teach private lessons with other students. And of course, they're younger kids and they're all staying home. And I'm wondering if, can I use my Zoom account and make each one of those an individual meeting? Or do I need to set up something that's my own personal Zoom account? And if I do that, will it confuse me with my college account?
Well, in my case anyway, confusion is always a possibility. I don't see any reason why you couldn't do that with your college account, because the college does not pay by how much you use that account. They just pay for access.
Okay.
So you're not diverting public money into private use.
Mm-hmm. So I would have to get a different number, though, right, for each student?
Well, you wouldn't have a different personal meeting ID, but you could set a password on those meetings. You can do that in your Zoom settings, in your meeting settings. And I'm still sharing my screen. There it is. Require a password when scheduling new meetings, and require a password for instant meetings, or actually the one you really want is require a password for personal meeting ID.
Oh,
and you
okay.
turn that on temporarily and set a password and send the password to the student, so they'll be able to get in with you. In that event, no one else can join the meeting while you and that student are in there.
And then where do I put that password on Zoom, or do I?
When you turn that on, only meetings that join before host enabled is probably a good thing. Then you can embed the password in the meeting link for one-click join. And now when you go to start a meeting, it'll prompt you for a password.
Okay, and then I remove that after I finish that lesson?
Then just turn this off when you're done.
Okay.
And you'll no longer have that issue. And you can reset that password as well. So
Super. Okay. So I could use the same password for each one of those personal meetings. I wouldn't have to change it?
I don't see why you couldn't. I mean, there's the outside possibility of a student who already had that password coming in the middle of somebody else's meeting. But you'd know if that happened. And you could just ask them nicely to leave. This is not your time.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that wouldn't bother us because we do joint things all the time anyway. So
it's not like you're discussing some embarrassing information or something like that.
Or somebody else.
Or somebody else, right?
Okay.
But usually that's not an issue. As a matter of fact, you probably wouldn't even have to set the password. Especially you wouldn't have, what are the chances of one of your college students dropping into the meeting at the wrong time? Probably really
Yeah,
low.
yeah. Yeah, these are all kids under 10.
So chances are pretty good you wouldn't even have to bother with all of that. But
Yeah.
you do have that option in case it does get to be a problem.
And then
You have the
I
option to set
I only have the one class on Tuesdays, and that day I wouldn't teach lessons, so there's no chance of them interrupting my class.
It'd be very unlikely, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sorry does wonders anyway, so.
Right. I mean, what's the worst that's going to happen? You just, I'm sorry, would you mind? I'm having a private lesson with somebody, and we're in the middle of it.
Sure.
I'll be happy to, I'll be happy to talk to you later.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
stuff like that. I much prefer solutions like that as opposed to prescriptive or proscriptive approaches where you lock things down so tight that everybody just figures it's too much trouble to bother with.
Yeah. Right.
Which is what the FBI recommends for Zoom bombing.
Oh my! Can you
They're
imagine?
making it so hard for your students to get in that nobody will attend your meeting.
Yeah. Can you imagine somebody doing that? I once asked my nephew, who is now, he does that kind of thing for large companies to figure out whether or not they can be hacked. And when he was 12, I asked him, why do you guys do that? Why do you do that to corporations? And he said, because we can.
Yeah. Well, I have had it happen to me once. I had a visit from Professor Hanky Panky the other day.
Oh God.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Who was making various animal sounds and heavy breathing and so on. It took me about 15, 20 seconds to throw him out of the room, and I haven't heard nor heard hide nor hair of him since. But and my personal meeting ID is out there all over the place, and it's only happened to me once. So the chances of it happening to you are pretty remote. The one instance that got everybody up in arms was a school board meeting, I think in Ohio, where a bunch of white supremacists broke in. And
oh my gosh.
And apparently the person running the meeting didn't know how to get rid of them in time. And a bunch of people heard a bunch of unpleasant stuff. At last count, none of them had died from the experience, so I don't think it's not an existential threat like the coronavirus. But it's an aggravation. And you read these stories and you think, oh my God, Zoom's terrible, when we know so much no different. But it sells newspapers and blog subscriptions and so on, I guess.
True. Well, thank you very much. I wish I had seen this before I started my first class. You're an incredible teacher.
Well, coming from you all, that's really a compliment. Thank you.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this.
I appreciate it very much. I've been teaching one way or another for about 45 years, but that doesn't necessarily make you good at it. So I appreciate the thought. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. And I'm going to sign off. So
I'll see you.
I'll see you again soon.
Anybody else have anything else? Let me see here. I'm looking at the chat tool, see if anything's come in while we've been talking. And I'll be here as long as anybody has questions. Let's see, what do we have? 8 people still left. Lori, I'll wait around if you want to ask something privately later. So, excuse me. Let's see, is she still here? Nope, I think she has given up. I'm sorry about that. All righty. unless you have more questions for me, I'm going to go ahead and get this recording rendering. And I will be back on Monday at 10 a.m., I believe. Yeah, with grading in Canvas.
Okay. Quick question. This is very unrelated, but since I'm the last
Go
person.
right ahead.
I'm taking the certification course, and I have an assignment. I want to make sure I send it correctly. It was in discussion, my biography, and I put my biography on my profile. Also, I replied with that biography. Is that correct? The way to send assignment?
To submit that assignment, basically all you do is type in that I've completed my biography in the assignment text box, and then submit that, and they will know to go and look at your biography. They can do that.
Oh, my biography in portfolio, they know that? Or where would they look at?
Well,
for?
actually, you know, I don't remember the exact directions on that question. I haven't been involved in this training course for a while.
Okay.
So I'm not exactly sure what they told you to do. But your biography normally goes in Canvas into.
I put it in profile.
Well, normally it's in your account screen under profile, right here. And you go here and edit the profile, and you can type your biography.
Yeah, I've done that.
Did they ask you to copy and paste that in somewhere else as well?
They didn't say. They just asked for the biography. So I don't know if they will go look at it there, or
I assume
how
so.
they know I did it. It didn't.
Well, sometimes what they do in those assignments is they give you a text box in the assignment where you can just type, "I've done my biography." And then they can go and look at your biography without you having to send it to them. It's in Canvas, and they can look at it. So
thank you.
I'm not sure exactly what the parameters of that particular assignment in the training course are, but that's my best guess. And once you save profile, it's in there. They can find it.
Thank you very much.
Okay. All righty. Anything else? If not, I bid you farewell, and I hope to see you again soon. And stay safe. Be safe.